This is the fastest way to learn to speak any language. If you do this, if you do what I'm about to show you in this video, you can be conversational in any language in a few weeks. You'll need more time for fluency, but you can be conversational just with this. All you need is a list of sentences that includes everything you want to be able to say in the language. So, first, you need to write everything you want to be able to say in every situation, every interaction, and about every topic you usually talk about. Things like meeting people, introducing yourself, talking about yourself, why you're there, if you're abroad, your work or your hobbies, things you like to rant about, politics, whatever. Things you normally talk about. You need to write around 1,000 sentences. Usually, 1,000 sentences is a good number for this. At this stage, 1,000 sentences will work well. So take some time, a day or two, and brainstorm and write as much as you can about yourself and the things you normally talk about. You can use AI for this, not to write the sentences, but giving AI a bunch of information about yourself is a good idea. You can then ask it tell it to ask you a bunch of questions about the information you just gave. So then you can answer those questions and you can come up with a lot of questions and answers about yourself and learn all of that. You can add all of that to your list, to your language islands, like I did right here. Like, what's your name? My name is Mikel. Where are you from? I'm from blah, blah, blah. Where you live. So that you also learn to ask those questions because you ideally you want to talk. I mean, I don't know what you do normally in conversations, but you should be asking questions as well and just having a back and forth conversation, not just talking about yourself. All right. And you can always add more sentences later. What happens often is that people um, write everything they think they say and then realize that they didn't write a lot of stuff that they need, but because it just didn't occur to them. So you can always, but you should always keep adding more stuff to your list. But a few hundred sentences or 1,000 sentences are good for a start. So let's say you've got enough sentences. You wrote them, you translate them, right? You simply use translation code. You can use AI, Google Translate, anything. But you need to create a bilingual text like this, right? Target language on one side, your base language on the other side, so that you've got a very clear picture of what everything means. And you will also need audio files of the target language. And only of the target language, by the way. A lot of people ask me this, and no, you shouldn't include English or whatever your native language is on the audio files should be only target language, because if you include both languages, then it takes double the amount of time for the same amount of sentences, because you're hearing it twice. You hear it in the target language and you're hearing it in your own language. You don't need that, right? Yeah, at first you will not understand it, but after reading the sentences a few times, you learn the meaning and you'll be able to pretty easily understand what you're listening to. Right? This is all about repetition. So yeah, create audio files. You can copy the text, target language only, paste it, TTS Maker, 11 Labs, any kind of text to speech software, and get MP3 files that you should then put on your phone or your computer or both, ideally. All right. And here it's really important how many. One more time, like it's really important that you get as many reps as possible with the text and the audio files. So again, do not include English or whatever your native language is. Only target language in the audio files, right? Um, because you can listen to double the amount of sentences per hour. So you get way more reps. So once you've got your bilingual text and the MP3 files, you've got all your materials, you can start learning. So simply, how do you start learning with this if you are starting from scratch? Well, play the audio file and listen along with it. Read along with it. You read and listen at the same time. You've got your target language there, and you've got your base language next to it, so you can always look at the base language every time you don't know something. And at first, most of the sentences you will not understand, so you'll have to keep looking at your base language. But like I said, here repetition is really important. So if you read the whole thing from start to finish while listening once, it'll be difficult. But the second time it'll be slightly less difficult, and the third time it'll be much less difficult. And after 5 times, it'll be relatively easy to understand what you're listening to, because you'll have the text that you've already read a few times with the meaning next to it. And at some point, it'll be relatively easy, and you'll be able to listen to it more while you do other things. You can go to the gym, you can go for runs, you can commute, drive, go for walks, do whatever, cook, do the dishes. You can do lots of things while listening to your sentences. And like I said earlier, repetition is really, really important. So the more you listen to it, the better. You should listen to it while reading with this text in front of you, but also you should listen to it without the text to get extra reps and to get used to listening to the language, right? As many reps as possible. And also, if you read while listening and you keep doing it with the same sentences, you learn not only the meaning, but also the right pronunciation, which will help you with comprehension and also with your own speaking. If you listen to random stuff, like YouTube videos, things like that, if you do enough of it, thousands of hours, okay, eventually you learn the language. But if you listen to the same language with the text in front of you over and over again, it'll be much, much easier to learn those sentences, first of all, to be able to use them, and also to learn the right pronunciation early on. So yeah, with each round of listening and reading, your pronunciation will get better, your comprehension will be better, and it will help your speaking as well, because eventually you'll know the sentences really well and you'll be able to use them as well. However, if you want to, and of course you want to use them actively, you need to practice them actively, right? So you need to start with your active practice. I recommend doing at least 10 rounds of reading while listening, or just listening to the whole thing before you start doing this actively. But you could also do, it really depends on how sharp you are, honestly. But you could also do this from day one, from the first rep, all right? There are two ways of doing active practice with this. I mean, there are more as well, but the basic ones, the easiest ones, are two: either reading it aloud, which I don't recommend you do from the day one for a specific reason, and shadowing, which means listening to it and repeating simultaneously without pauses, without, it's not listening after a sentence. It's not repeating after a sentence. It's listening and speaking, so repeating the sentences at the same time, trying to keep up, which is quite difficult. But you could do this from day one. What you shouldn't do from day one is reading aloud, because you don't know how to pronounce the sentences. So to start reading aloud, and I do recommend you read aloud without audio, but only after at least 10 rounds of listening to the sentences, so that you're nailing the pronunciation. Otherwise, well, maybe not nailing, but you've got decent pronunciation. If you start reading aloud sentences that you don't really know what they should sound like, your pronunciation is going to be a disaster, and you don't want this, right? So lots of listening from day one. Reading aloud's okay later, it's pretty good later, but if you're going to practice actively, and it is good, active practice from day one is good, you should only do shadowing. You should listen and repeat aloud, but only with the audio on. Anyway, this is what you should do, basically. Read while listening, listen to them on repeat. After enough times, you can also do reading aloud, and lots of shadowing with the same text, with the same audio and the text in front of you. And after 20 or 30 total reps, so rounds of listening or reading or shadowing the whole text, the whole audio file from start to finish, you'll be pretty good at understanding all these sentences. You'll know them relatively well. You'll be able to have basic conversations because you remember a lot of these, and they are useful sentences if you did a good job with your writing. And yeah, you'll be able to have these conversations with pretty good fluency and pronunciation. And this is where you can, well, you're ready to go. You can go to Cancun and speak Spanish and look great. I mean, with your intermediate, and let's be honest, this is already an intermediate compared to what you'll get with this, compared to what most people reach, the level most people get to. But you can also work really hard for a few more weeks or a couple of months and get it to the next level. And I'm going to show you how. So basically, you can take your sentences that you want to learn and turn them into this. What's this? These are the same sentences, but expanded. So from each one of these, I got 10 to 15 sentences. So what's your name now is what's your name? Well, what's your name twice because it's tú and usted, which is different forms of one's informal, one's formal. What was your name? What was your name used to be? Can you repeat your name? Did you tell me your name? Basically, you can take your sentences and paste them on AI and ask AI to give you 10 to 15 different versions of each one of the sentences. So instead of 1,000 sentences, now you've got 10 or 15,000. And this sounds like a massive amount of stuff to learn, but it's really not, because it's basically the same content with a lot of small variations. And if you already did a lot of reps with this, and you know the vocab and you know the sentence as well, it won't be all that difficult to learn this, because they are grouped in families, in groups of very similar sentences, related sentences with similar vocab. So if you know this one, you'll understand this one, and you understand this one, and you'll probably understand this one as well, right? Most of them. Round one, you'll understand most of them already pretty easily. And the point of this exercise, well, it's got several advantages. Again, you should do this only after learning your main list of your language islands. 1,000-ish. You could do 500, you could do 2,000. I mean, but around 1,000 is a good number to aim for. But once you've got your language islands learned, again, like 20, 30 rounds with the whole list, I recommend you do this. Expand them like this, and then you learn a lot of small variations of the same sentences, so that you learn a lot of different things, not just like, what's your name? My name is this. But then a native speaker could say something else, and you haven't learned that sentence, and then you don't understand. But if you do this, you learn basically every way you can say that. Like, you can ask someone what the name is, or you can different ways you can. Well, basically everything. Like, my name is Mikel, and then it's my full name is Mikel. My name is not common. My name is this. My name is that. Sometimes AI can come up with, my name is this, my name isn't this, what's your name, what's his name, is his name this, his name is not that. So you're learning all the conjugations, all the tenses, some of the useful tenses at least. It sometimes give you some related vocab, like, this is how you spell my name, my name appears on all my documents. Some of them will not be all that useful, but you learn a lot of extra vocab this way in phrases that are relatively useful and mostly useful and relatively simple. So, yeah, where are you from? Which part of the country are you from? Are you from the north or the south? Are you from this country? Are you from that country? How long have you been living here? So basically, if you did a good job with your sentences, you'll have a lot here, a lot of different stuff. That's already relatively easy because you've learned the base sentences, right? So you've learned your 1,000, you've learned your list, and then you're learning 10 or 15 extra versions of each one, or related sentences to each one. These are families of sentences. It's very easy once you'll see once you start doing this. So, and again, the way to like the way you should learn this is exactly the same. Create audio files, bilingual text, uh, maybe 20 or 30 reps rounds of this from start to finish is way too much because it's a lot of content. But it's also much easier, right? So and you don't need to know everything perfectly, but once you know the first list, doing this will be pretty easy, and it'll really help you. It'll really boost your speaking skills and your comprehension because you learn a lot of adjacent vocab. It will come up with some weird stuff. Like I'm proud of where I'm from, which I mean it's a pretty good place, but I'm proud of things I've accomplished. I'm not proud of being born in a place. That's not something I would say, but yeah, you get the idea. Like I'm from this place. Instead of just saying I'm from this place, like I'm from this place, which is that, or I'm from this place, but now I live in that other place. Or and you could also modify them with your own information, like whether you live, whether you, yeah, like there's a different ways of saying it in Spanish. Uh, whether you used to live, where you're going to live in the next year. Yeah, I live in this place, and then lots of different sentences about the place you live in. And again, it'll be it'll be really useful if you do this. It's hard work. I'm not gonna lie to you. This is most people are quite lazy and can't do this, but it's extremely effective. Right? You write your language islands, all the sentences that you want to be able to use in most situations, all the common interactions, scenarios, topics, and you learn them through a lot of drilling. And you can also use mnemonics for the vocab. I recommend you use mnemonics for the vocab. It'll also be useful later on here. But yeah, you learn those through a lot of repetition, and then you do the same with this in a much easier way because you already know the vocab, most of it. And this will massively boost your speaking. You do this for like 3 hours a day, an hour reading and listening, and a couple of hours listening to it while you do other things. And I guarantee that in a couple of weeks, you'll be, as long as you've been doing it actively, when doing it from this, as long as you've been repeating them aloud actively, you'll be speaking the language. Not well, of course, but you'll be conversational just by drilling the same lines. Because 1,000 lines are less than an hour of audio. And if you listen to it and you repeat it aloud and you read it like once a week, oh sorry, once a day, okay, it'll take a month to get decent at them. But if you read it aloud, you listen to it while doing something else, 3 hours a day in total, like two of those hours just passive listening. You can listen to it and repeat it aloud and do all those rounds. Like you can do 30 rounds of it in a couple of weeks, or even in a week if you work super hard. And yeah, results will be amazing if you do this.